gang violence and other kind of violence.
Get away! I could be at work, at school, in my car, I can still get shot by the police, but I can get shot anywhere.
So it is what it is.
What's good, Shadow Realm? It's the Black Gen Z Mindset. Make sure you go ahead and like, comment, share, subscribe, and let's get into the video.
A husband and wife attacked after going on a date in their Streeterville neighborhood Friday. Just as the sun was going down, the couple found themselves surrounded by teens. They were kicked, stomped on, and punched over and over again.
Woo! So, obviously, you can see that this is a Caucasian couple here. And they are out on a date night, and their date night is abruptly ended by a mob of young black youth who thought it was okay to just randomly attack people in the streets. This is very reminiscent of the Central Park 5 incident that happened in New York that, Trump so famously condemned and called for the death penalty for. And, years later, people are saying, oh, well, they didn't do it. Nah, I wouldn't be so sure. I wouldn't be so sure. I mean, you got confessions from many of those young men. There were a couple that was, or a woman that was raped and beaten. So we're not here to adjudicate that situation. But my point is, this happens. And it's not as if it's some far-fetched thing. It happens often, okay? So much so that I could probably do a story on a random group of black youth attacking anybody. But in this case, it is a Caucasian couple in any major Democratic city. So this is not a one-off. This is not something that, oh, well, it just... wrong place, wrong time. No, this is a reoccurring issue that needs to be addressed.
Everything happened from behind us. First, someone approached him and hit his head, punched him in the head, and he looked back and he looked at me and told me, run. So he wanted to protect me. And as he followed me, he got attacked again, punched in the head again.
Nina is talking about her husband. These are images from the attack that occurred Friday after 8:30 in the evening at Grand and McClurg. Nina didn't want to show her face, but did share these images. You see a chunk of her hair was pulled out. During our interview, her eye was still bruised. Her husband was viciously attacked, too, by a crowd that held him down. Nina says this wasn't a robbery, but the teens pepper sprayed her and kicked her in her stomach. She lost the 2-week-old fetus growing in her womb. Chicago police arrived on scene and quickly caught a 14-year-old male and a 17-year-old female. Both are charged with 1 count of misdemeanor battery.
They didn't steal anything. They say, like, we own the streets. We own the streets. You can't walk around. I was wearing like a nice dress and heels. Like, I was out on a date with my husband. And they dragged my dress on the ground and they said, like, we own these streets. You can't just walk around prancing in your little dress. And
wow. So they told them they own the streets, even though it's government, state property. This is the mindset. You have a group of people who believe that they own something that they have no legal rights to. Insane.
They were saying things that just didn't make any sense to me because they don't know me personally.
Wow. And it might even sound like this woman is Asian. So very interesting here. But obviously, we know the cause of this. These super gremlins are on demon time.
Well, Chicago police, they tell us they are investigating. We also reached out to the Cook County State's Attorney to see if additional charges are pending. We are waiting to hear back.
So a hot evening tonight downtown and in Streeterville. Police are watching for trouble.
This comes after a stunning, violent attack on a couple walking home after a dinner date. The attackers were believed to be teenagers. Tia Ewing spoke with the victims tonight. Tia.
Well, Donna and Scott, the family, they tell me that they don't believe the motive here was robbery. In fact, they weren't robbed for anything. What they did tell me is as these kids were attacking them, they yelled out that they own the streets. The family, they don't want to be identified, but they do want people to be warned that these team gatherings can turn violent really quickly.
Please, we're just trying to go home to our kid. Leave us alone. Why are you doing this to us?
This is where Nina and her husband were walking back from date night Friday after 8:30 in Streeterville.
Everything happened from behind us. First, someone approached him and hit his head, punched him in the head, and he looked back and he looked at me and told me, run, so he wanted to protect me.
These are images of his injuries, bruising from head to toe. The attackers then unleashed their rage on Nina.
Another lady came to me and dragged me through my hair, with my hair on the ground. I start screaming. She start pepper spraying me right in the face, in the eyes. Another person starts stomping all over me, and my husband ran towards me to save me. Over 10 people held him.
Nina's hair was pulled from her scalp. Nina captured this image of the hair in her hand. When police arrived at Grand and McClure, the crowd started running, many hopping this fence. 2 teens were arrested and charged, a 17-year-old girl and a 14-year-old boy. The teens aren't in police custody. Alderman Brian Hopkins says the teens shouldn't be able to get away with this.
Oh, but they are. They are, and there's just going to be another woke DA prosecutor who's going to go in there and keep the revolving door revolving, because that is the whole plan after all, right? Especially for the city of Chicago. Chicago is just it's a pet project for the Democrats to see how bad things can get before people start waking up, and it's proven to show that it takes a really long time before people actually start waking up.
We're asking the state's attorney to consider upgrading those charges to felony charges resulting in great bodily harm. Both victims suffered extensive injuries, and the medical examination is ongoing.
Nina was 2 weeks pregnant and says she found out after the attack that she lost the baby she was carrying.
We believe in faith, and it wasn't meant to be. So we don't know why this happened to us, you know, and everything that we have.
Well, Alderman Hopkins told me that police are doing everything they can. I do want to point out the fact when we were back in the area of the AMC Theater in Streeterville, there was about a group of 50 teens. Chicago police tell us they are still monitoring.
50 teens. 50 super teen gremlins on demon time.
That situation tonight. Live in Chicago, Tia Ewing, Fox 32 Chicago.
All right, switching gears here to America's crime crisis. A Chicago couple is speaking out after they were brutally attacked by a mob of teenagers. The husband and pregnant wife were beaten, stomped, and kicked repeatedly. And tragically, that couple has lost their baby.
Another lady came to me and dragged me through my hair. Another person started stomping all over me, and my husband ran towards me to save me. Over 10 people held him. We believe in faith, and it wasn't meant to be. So we don't know why this happened to us.
William Kelly is a Chicago-based reporter and joins us now. William, this happened in Streeterville, which is a nice area of Chicago, and the details here are devastating. What can you tell us about this?
Well, God bless you, Carly. And it breaks my heart, not only as a reporter, but as a lifelong Chicagoan who was born and raised on the south side of Chicago. Now we see the kind of violence associated with the south side all over the city of Chicago. Yeah, Streeterville is the postcard of Chicago. When people think of the postcard of Chicago, they're essentially picturing Streeterville. But I've been reporting on these teen takeover mobs, flash mobs, for quite some time now. It seems like years. So our current mayor, Johnson, knows.
Yeah, and we have seen these flash mobs all over the place. Brandon Johnson, the mayor of Chicago, that 80% of the black people in Chicago, I think it was 86% of black people in Chicago, so damn near 90% of blacks in Chicago voted for Brandon Johnson. So you're getting exactly what you asked for in this case, unfortunately. And it is harming people who, you know, are maybe also ask for it too, because let's not discount that these white liberals are out here as well, and they're not really understand what's going on in their city, and they think Ish is sweet and all this kind of stuff, and the woman goes out on a date night and is tragically beaten up. Her baby is no longer with us, and that's a sad thing, right? And these teens should be charged with manslaughter or some type of crime that entails the murder of this unborn child.
Knew about this. This was preventable. That video, I shot that. The police superintendent Schnelling knew about this. This was preventable. This couple did not need to be attacked. They did not need to lose their baby, Carly.
And the woman just found out that she was pregnant. This should be the happiest time of their lives, which is why they were on a date night, as every couple does in Streeterville. You think you're safe, and clearly you're not. And,
right.
And the thing about this is, she says that they didn't rob this group of teens. Didn't rob them.
No.
They were just out for violence. They punched them in the stomach, which is why the woman lost her baby. Pepper sprayed them. Police caught two of them. Yeah, a 14-year-old boy, a 17-year-old girl, but both of them were just charged with one count of misdemeanor battery. That's a slap on the wrist for causing this woman to lose her child.
Well, they always attack from behind. You never see it coming.
Yeah, so, I mean, these cowards, like he said, they attack from behind. They're not charged with any serious crimes, and they're back on the streets able to do it next week. You know, rinse, wash, repeat.
Once you're on the ground, they stomp on you. I've had it happen to me, believe it or not, in Streeterville. So this is nothing new. And what's really upsetting is that the Chicago media, the police superintendent Schnelling, the mayor, they're treating it like a one-day story. They want this to go away, which is why thank you, Carly, for bringing this story to the rest of the country.
Yeah, it's a big one. And
this is where the DNC, this is where, believe it or not, the Democrat National Convention is going to be held in just 76 days.
And we're hearing that it's mostly likely to be virtual, and this may be one of the reasons why. There's also this happening in Chicago. There's a Democrat alderwoman who says that she's going to stop posting crime alerts on social media, and here's why. She says, based on feedback from our neighbors and commitment to our values of empowerment, anti-racism, and community, our office is updating our public safety alert system. Research also shows us that over-reporting of crime negatively impacts our most marginalized and underserved neighbors. So
Wow. So she's completely woke. Woo! Yeah, I mean, I really don't see an end for Chicago. I don't see a bright spot. This thing is completely getting out of control, and I really don't have any hope for the city because of the things that are happening and the leadership overlooking this violence, because this is a quality of life, extreme quality of life, violent crime. And now you have a family who was not expecting anymore, but that's exactly what these Democrats want, huh? You know, they believe this was a street abortion, essentially. And if only women could have access and have the bodily rights to terminate their own pregnancies, then she wouldn't have lost a child. That's the logic.
He says she's doing the community a favor by not reporting crime alerts because of anti-racism tactics that she's hoping to implement.
Yeah, she's the only people that she's helping are the violent criminals. It goes against her narrative. You know, trust me, Carly, if the violent criminals were white and the victims were not white, then she would be screaming bloody murder about this. You know, these are the priorities of the elected officials in Chicago. These, and you will be seeing this on full display. If my reporting, you know, on Twitter at William J. Kelly has anything to do with it. While the Democrats are celebrating their achievements at the DNC right here in the city of Chicago.
We shall see. It is a big old mess, and it doesn't look like this crime issue is going to be slowing down anytime soon, unfortunately. William, thank you so much for joining us. Stay safe. Have a great day.
God bless you, Carly.
You too.
What's good, Shadow Realm? It's your boy Jenquavius Jackson, and y'all already know I'm demonetized and shadow banned in this bitch. So if you want to contribute, go to the Cash App, the PayPal, the GoFundMe, or join the Patreon. Also, don't forget to visit the merch store for all your favorite BGZM News 17 gear, including our exclusive Trump is a Blood t-shirt. Go fast before they sell out. They are already flying off the shelves, no cap. And remember, these super gremlins are on demon time. All right, guys, so I do want to give you some hope on the community waking up as a whole, even though I don't think we're there yet. But I do want to give you guys a positive representation of the community in the Rooftop Revelations pastor who goes into these soft on crime policies and basically condemns the leftism as a whole. So I'm gonna respectfully bow out and let the brother have the floor, and he is going to break it down pretty eloquently, I might add. So you already know what it is. Let's hear what the Rooftop pastor has to say.
I wish I could laugh at this foolishness, but I can't. I'm so tired of politicians claiming to care about us, and yet they run away from the failures that their policies have caused. Instead, they prefer to sprinkle the magic dust of empty words, hoping to distract us. And sadly, too often, it works. Hello, America. I'm Pastor Corey Brooks from the South Side of Chicago to the nation's capital. This is Rooftop Revelations. Many of you know me as the Rooftop Pastor. I recently spent a year on top of a roof through Chicago's cold and heat to raise nearly all the needed funds for this glorious leadership and economic community center that you see being built behind me. We aim nothing less than the full transformation of Chicago's most violent block, O Block, into Opportunity Block. Here we discuss issues local to national and from the streets to the Capitol. And we're glad you're joining us for the latest edition of Rooftop Revelation. Well, once again, our Illinois politicians believe they have the magic that will cure the crime that riddles our city of Chicago. I recently learned that our state's Democratic lawmakers plan to introduce a House Bill 4409 to amend the Illinois Crime Reduction Act of 2009 in order to rename offenders as justice impacted individuals. That is right. With the magic of rewording, we will no longer have offenders or criminals. Instead, we will have justice impacted individuals. And the implication could not be clearer. Rather than being seen as criminals who victimize society, they will be seen as victims of the system. I wish it were that simple. If it were, I could stop my work as a pastor who has tried to reform criminals in this Woodlawn neighborhood on the South Side for the last 20 years. I could stop construction on this massive project, this community center designed to take back the neighborhood from criminals. But you and I know that this latest move by our state politicians is just more leftist foolishness. It makes me so tired of watching. I'm tired of how these liberals have sprinkled this magic dust in my neighborhood over and over. For the last 7 decades, in the beginning, long before I arrived on the South Side to begin my ministry, they introduced welfare policies that took the father out of the home in exchange for government dependency. Year after year, they failed to provide us with the sufficient schools and teachers. Today, the nearby elementary school produces kids who can barely read and do math. And only several months ago, less than a year ago, Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson announced that he would magically achieve equity by shutting some of the city's best public schools because it wouldn't be fair to the black kids in poor performing schools. I wish I could laugh at this foolishness, but I can't. I'm so tired of politicians claiming to care about us, and yet They run away from the failures that their policies have caused. Instead, they prefer to sprinkle the magic dust of empty words, hoping to distract us. And sadly, too often, it works. But what bothers me profoundly about the left is their consistent refusal to see people in my neighborhood as fully human. That is why calling criminals in my neighborhood justice impacted individuals is just more of not seeing them as fully human. By contrast, I see these fallen men and women for who they are, criminals. We have to focus on the reality of that. It may not be fair that many of them who were born into great poverty and burdened with disadvantages, but that is no excuse to embark upon a criminal path. Every single offender that I've encountered on the streets or in my church broke the law. They knew what the law was and they crossed the line anyway. They hurt people, sometimes even kill people. You can't erase these consequences with the turn of a phrase. But what I believe in my heart is that you can reform a criminal into a law-abiding citizen. The first step begins with the individual finding themselves under the criminal armor. When you do that, you recognize, you reconnect the individual to all the good things in life, especially those who want to be better. Then you begin to show the individual the possibility of a new pathway in life. And I tell them over and over that it is possible for them to change their lives for the better, to become a good employee, to become a good parent, to become a good spouse, and to become a good citizen. This work is not easy. It is not for the faint of heart. Not everyone succeeds, but I have seen in many, it is a beautiful thing to witness the spread of their wings. No amount of liberal magic can replace the true and human work that desperately needs and desperately is needed in our community. The work can be done. I want to thank you for allowing me back into your lives, and thank you for watching Rooftop Revelations.
Gang violence and other kind of violence.
Get away! I could be at work, at school, in my car, and I can still get shot by the police. I can get shot anywhere.
So it is what it is.